don't take it as serious as we could when it comes to networking. Oh my goodness, it is so important. And I've noticed that the opportunities that I'm kind of going for, or that may have come my way, a lot of it, I would say about 90% of it, 95, is through networking.
Hello everyone, welcome to Film Profit Repeat. My name is Camille Hugh and I am a writer and a filmmaker. I'm also the host of this show where I get to interview writers and filmmakers who are independent and getting their work out there, reaching audiences by unconventional means, taking matters into their own hands. And I'm so excited today to be joined by our guest, Briana Cole, who is a writer, a producer, she's an author, she's authored 10 books. She has an amazing new movie out on TUBI right now called The Marriage Pass, as well as her first film, Pseudo, which is on Peacock, that's being distributed by Damon Dash Studios. And there's just so much that this lady has done. So thank you so much, Briana, for being with me today. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm great. Thank you for the invite, Camille. I do appreciate it.
You must be on a high right now because your movie just dropped like a couple of weeks ago, The Marriage Pass on Tubi, and it's doing very, very well. Audiences are really enjoying it, so that must be pretty exciting for you.
Yes, it is very exciting. I mean, with us creatives, when you put your work out there, you never know how it's going to be received. So it's always like a little bit of anxiety, like, will they like it? Will they get it? Or what have you. But oh my gosh, the team just did amazing. Everything was just firing on all cylinders. And I'm so, 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 so proud of the movie.
As you should be. And so I want to just dive straight into our conversation about first your background. Like, if you can tell us how this has come to be. Have you always been a writer? Did you go to school for writing? Just dive in and tell me everything.
Okay, well, yeah, I like most writers, I've heard this a lot, so I can kind of relate for sure. I was a reader first. I've always loved books. I'm telling my age, but when I used to go to the mall with my parents, I would sit in Walden Books and I'm just, devouring them one after the other. And I always envisioned myself like creating stories and then having my work along these bookshelves with some other notable authors that I looked up to, like Kimberly Lawson Roby and Victoria Christopher Murray and Omar Tyree and Ari Jerome Dickey and, Terry McMillan and all of these amazing authors that I just love, love, love. So I started out writing short stories when I was like 6 or 7. I would write short stories and draw the little pictures to go with it. They were hideous, but I mean, I don't know. I was trying. I was a kid. When I was in high school, I kind of moved to poetry. And so I actually started a greeting card business in high school, which was pretty fun. Because again, I was trying to find myself. I knew I wanted to write, but I didn't know what I wanted to write per se. It was so many different avenues where I could, really just use my talents and my skills, but I wasn't really sure what, stuck with me. I just knew I wanted to write stuff. So poetry I've done. I did go out to Georgia Southern and I majored in creative writing, which was great because it allowed me to dabble in different types of writing. So creative was, where I was drawn, but I touched on like journalism as well. Technical and professional writing. It was great. So then I wrote my first and published my first book in 2014, I believe. And since then, I know you mentioned it in my bio that I have published about 10 books. And just recently, within the past 4 to 5 years, I started getting into more screenwriting with film and television, which has been amazing because in addition to writing, I love to act. So it allows me to marry my two passions. I get to create worlds and characters and bring stories to life either through my performances or through my literary work. So it's great. It's just been super great.
Yeah, that is amazing. I mean, well, first I want to ask you, because I'm also an author and I've authored many books as well, and you have, I believe, 3 of them that you're adapting into screenplays, right? Or into movies,
Yeah.
right? So the first film that you did, Pseudo, was that was based on one of your books as well?
Yes. So with Pseudo, I kind of took the idea for one of my novellas. I published a novella in an anthology called Pseudo, same type of thing. So I took that idea, that premise, that world, if you will, and then I kind of did. It's not a direct adaptation. And when you think of adaptations, I just kind of took the idea and kind of turned it on its head and told it from a different angle visually. So that was a lot of fun. That was my first produced feature. That was my first stint with screenwriting, and I funded it all myself. I got the director, the producers, and the help with casting, locations, and distribution with Damon Dash, and the marketing, and just I did a movie premiere, which sold out. It was amazing. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. So that was kind of my first, I put my toe into it a little bit just to kind of see if I liked it, how that worked. And oh my gosh, it was just amazing.
Dipped your toe. I would say like you put your foot in it. Like you that was such a huge success, and it's what actually how I found out about you. I saw a post on one of the Facebook groups that we are both in, and you were talking about your experience with Pseudo, and I thought it was just so awe-inspiring because it's something that I'm currently doing myself. Like I just made my first feature film, so I'm like at the very beginning stages of what you did, and I know how much work it is, and I think a lot of the people who are watching this are in the same in the same space where they're trying to make their own film, independently produce it. And I love that you were so transparent about how much money it costs and like how much work is involved with doing that. I'd love to ask you some questions about that. So I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, you mentioned it was about 20,000 or something like that to fund that film. And
which is think about it, Camille. That's actually believe it or not, that's actually on the lower end when you think about making a movie. Like I know, we think, oh wow, 20,000, but for a movie, you kind of like I had to call in some favors, and I was like, can you help me out? I'm just a local independent filmmaker. You really had to make that money stretch because you want it to be good. You know what I mean? Of course, you can make, a feature for, cheaper or whatever if you cut a lot of corners, but you want to have good quality, good audio, good editing, and just putting everything to it so that it's well received because you want to do the story justice.
Yeah, I mean that's about almost what I spent on making mine. So I understand for sure that it's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. People don't know. I mean, people spend millions of dollars on a film, and you're doing this independent project trying to make it look like $1 million film. It could be difficult to do, right? But obviously you did a great enough job to get Dame Dash Studios to distribute your film. So kudos to you. But I'd love to know, did you have to do like crowdfunding? Did you just go into your own savings? Did you go to your friends and family? Like, what was the process of that like?
Yeah, that was money in my savings. So I had to put, they say that you got to be willing to invest in yourself, right? And I was like, hey, we're going to do this. And originally I had budget for less than that, believe it or not. But then when you get into it and you're like, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this too. Ooh, that sticker price started adding up a little bit. So yeah, that was of course I had the support of my family. Of course, they would have given me whatever should I, had I asked for it, but I really wanted to do it on my own. I really wanted to make that investment myself, and just to kind of, go from there. I know people who've successfully done crowdfunding. I did not with this particular project. I would have if I needed to, for sure, because again, you definitely want to make a good product. But yeah, that was savings and just look, a lot of hope, prayer, and faith. Like, please make it work.
I love that. I love that you invested in yourself. I love that mentality of like, if I'm not gonna do it, like, who else will? Like, I need to believe in myself for you to step out on faith and invest in yourself and for it to pay off. Like, I think that's a super important message and very inspiring message. And then, so how long was that shoot, by the way? How long did it take you to film that?
We shot, I want to say it was a total of 12 days. However, it lasted, the 12 days kind of went into about 2.5 months, only because schedules, that was right in the middle of COVID. Like COVID was really just taking off. And then yeah, so then we had to deal with locations, and it was the Christmas holiday because we started, I want to say our table read was right at the beginning of that December of 2020. And yeah, so going into the holidays and the new year, and then with the locations, and like I say, COVID was back and forth, and testing and everything. So it ended up, like I said, it was a total of about 12 days. But again, it kind of stretched. Those 12 days were like a span of 2.5 months.
Wow. Yeah, first of all, I didn't have the added issue of COVID because I just shot mine back in October,
Okay.
November. But like, for you to accomplish that with COVID on top of it, like, because it was a huge thing back then. I mean, it still is now, but like in the middle of filming and preparing and everything, and to push through it.
It was a lot. Like I said, it was a lot. You wanted to make sure that you were taking the necessary precautions. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're not putting anybody else's health in jeopardy and things. So we were requiring like COVID tests, right before you come to film. Like we were really trying to do the best we could because, again, we didn't know how long the, pandemic was going to last. We didn't know what was going to happen with that. And my fear was that we had kind of got everything in place. And if we had pushed it off, it would have been pushed off, and no telling we would have, picked it back up. I was like, we're going to just try our best. And if we need to shut it down, but at least we've tried.
And then Dame Dash Studios, how did that come to be? I think I mentioned, well, I won't even spoil it. You tell the story.
Okay, so I had a finished film, right? It went through the editing. I had my amazing boyfriend. He was the music director. He scored it and put all this fantastic music on top of it. We had an amazing rap party. We had a red carpet premiere where it was like over 100 people. It was nice. It was so nice. We had rented out a movie theater and everything. So yeah, so now I was looking for distribution, right? And I was like, okay, where are we going to put this? So I just started doing research, and I saw that Dame Dash was looking to assist filmmakers. He had just opened like his distribution company, if you will, with Dame Dash Studios, and he was partnering with like Fox Soul and Peacock and Tubi, and really trying to connect with platforms to help bridge that gap for independent filmmakers. So I reached out to him. I was like, he had his number like in his information on his Instagram. I reached out to him. I was like, hey, I don't even know if Dame's gonna get this. I don't know, but I submitted my pitch to the email address that he provided, and they responded. His acquisitions director reached back out to me, and he was like, this sounds good. He had seen the trailer because I had sent the link, and he was like, send me the whole movie. Send me the movie. So I sent him the movie. I sent him, of course, the poster. I sent him all the fanfare and the pictures and videos from the premiere showing how well it was received. And yeah, we got on a call with this acquisitions director. He said he had spoken to Dame, like they had to watch it and everything because Dame vets everything. And that goes through under his name clearly, and they loved it, and they wanted it, and they were going to help me, get it on the platforms. So
Okay, and so, I meant to ask you, how long was the post-production process?
Production was about, we had to do some reshoots, which is expected. Then we had to do ADR with the voice stuff, with some voice stuff that we had to correct. So total with editing, scoring, it was about 3 months of post-production.
Wow. And you directed that, or you were director?
I didn't direct it. I just produced it. So I executive produced it. Obviously, I put the money behind it. I had a hand in everything. So I was also just a producer in addition to the EP. And I also starred in it. I was in the movie too. So that was crazy because I'm trying to coordinate everything, stay in touch with the director and the DP, the cinematographer, and everybody, and kind of coordinate everything behind the camera. But I also had lines too.
Oh my gosh, I can so relate to that because I was also starring in my film. So many hats that you have to wear, but I mean, you did it. You got it done. You got it distributed, and then you moved on to your second project. Was Marriage Pass directly your second project? Because I know you also were a writer on the second season of Lace, which is a series on AllBlk. So did that come next, or what did you work on when you were like, okay, I've done this, now this is next?
Okay, well, somewhere in there, I also signed on to assist as a co-writer and producer on a couple of other films. Gutter Mommies, which is also on TUBI and Peacock, and Trap Soldiers as well. These are more urban films that are, also streaming. So I was a co-writer on that. I also wrote a TV series for someone, a full first season TV series for a local independent producer, which has just finished filming. So that was pretty great. And then that's kind of when I signed on with Lace. I came in as a staff writer because they were looking. I had made a lot of connections with industry professionals, and they asked, like, I showed them Pseudo and everything, and they asked if I was interested in being in the writer's room. Well, I had never been in a writer's room. I was not familiar with, like that whole process, how that worked. But they said they would, allow me to apply. So I had to apply, and I had to spec a script, which, so I had to write a speculative script for a TV show, just to like a show that's already aired or is airing, so that I could show that I could demonstrate how I knew to assume the characters and the voice and the world of that TV show, having never been on the show or been a part of the show. So I spec one of my favorite TV shows, Scandal, and it was great. I love Scandal. I love Shondaland, but I definitely love Scandal, and so I was able to write a contained episode of Scandal and gave it to them. They loved it. I had an interview, and yeah, they brought me into the writers' room. So I was in the writers' room of season 2 of Lace. It was 1, 2, 3, 4 of us and a head writer. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Will you be going, is there another season? Are you going to be on that season as well? Do you know at this point, or is that?
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know at this time. We don't know this time. We're just kind of told, it is what it is at this point. But if they want us to come back for another season, or if it's renewed, they would let us know if they were interested. So yeah, that was great, because on that particular season, it was a total of 8 episodes, and my name is on 4 of them. Yeah, I helped with 4 of them.
That is so cool. So many writers want to be in a writer's room, and you got this opportunity, like, because people will literally be asking, like, how do I get in a writer's room? And they're pitching, and you have people coming to you because you went out and did something for yourself and attracted that attention to yourself.
Yeah, you have, people don't understand the importance. Well, I mean, but I'll put it like this. I'm not going to say people don't understand. I'm going to say maybe we don't take it as serious as we could when it comes to networking. Oh my goodness, it is so important. And I've noticed that the opportunities that I'm kind of going for, or that may have come my way, a lot of it, I would say about 90% of it, 95, is through networking. And it's like, reaching out, even if that means cold pitching some of these producers and industry professionals, and reaching out, like, networking, and really just keeping your eye to the culture as far as the opportunity, so you can kind of see how you can fit in. That's how I was able to become a speaker at Essence Fest last year. And, like I said, that the writer's room opportunity led to me being brought on to another film that was filming in Ghana. But because the producers knew each other and that producer was looking for a writer, and I had done so well with that writer's room and they were familiar with me, they were like, we got somebody in mind. And they gave my name to the other producer. And she brought me on to help write this supernatural thriller. And like I said, they filmed in Ghana, and now it's making its rounds on the festival circuit. They just finished in Johannesburg. Like it's so amazing. So yeah, that's kind of that's what you gotta have to do. You have to get out there. Me, you're very sensitive about your work, but I'm not afraid to put myself out there because I'm like, hey, if I don't, you won't know. Like how else will you know what I can do? So if I put it out there and it's not for you, so be it. But at least I can say I put myself out there.
Well, to circle back to the screening that you had for Pseudo, were all of the people like basically were you inviting industry folks, distributors to come and have a look at it, or was it mainly like your core audience, like the demographic for the audience that you were inviting to the screening?
The screening, so when we did the red carpet premiere, I did a mix of both. I had some industry professionals come. I had some influencers come because some bloggers and movie reviews. I wanted that too because I wanted the feedback. I wanted I wanted them to see it and then go talk about it. You know what I mean? So it was a risk because again, it was kind of like my first film, kind of like by myself, and but so it was that, but I also, did, of course, we did the tickets for our core audience, our family, our friends, our supporters of the cast and crew as well. So it was crazy. It was so bananas that we had a packed house. And when I say we rolled out the red carpet, it was like we had the backdrop, the step and repeat. We had my boyfriend who did the music. He had a nice little pre-show going on with the soundtrack and the artists so that you could see their videos from the soundtrack. We had a photographer, we had a videographer, we had an MC, who hosted the event.
So you were mentioning that you had a mix. It was a mixture of industry folks, friends, and family. Mm-hmm. And I'm really curious. Do you have a background in marketing, event planning? Because that is, how do you get all these people to show up?
Well, I did minor in marketing at Georgia Southern, but I don't know. I've always liked to plan events. I do like. I don't know. That's my other calling, I guess. I like to plan events. So that was fun for me. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I have, I guess, an unconventional question because and I don't know, maybe a lot of writers don't want to be in front of the camera, but because you also starred in your film, like I did it in mine, how was that watching yourself up on like a big screen, a big theater screen? Were you like this, cringing?
I was a little bit because, we're our own worst critic and everybody was loving it. And then there was some intimate scenes, and I was like, oh my gosh, my mom and my daddy here. And, you still gonna always have that, but it was so weird. I'm not gonna lie. It was really weird. It was, but it was cool to see.
That is very cool. All right, so moving on to the Marriage Pass, because that's like your current project that you're promoting at the moment, right? So can you just talk a little bit about how that came to be?
Yeah, so I originally so when I published my first two books, this was back in 2014 to 2015. I published two books with an independent publisher at the time, and I knew that I didn't know what to expect as far as when I was going to get my next book deal or whatever, but I knew that I wanted to do something to kind of keep my name out there, right? To kind of keep it circulating. So I said I was going to write a story, like a novella, and self-publish it, just to kind of keep it out there. So that's where the Marriage Pass was originally, and not many people know this. I guess if you go way back with me, for those who were been rocking with me since 2015 and 16, but the Marriage Pass was actually a novella that was published in December of 2016 called The Night Before Christmas. And it was about half the size, right? And like I said, it went bestseller status. It was very popular. Everybody loved it and it was good. So when I signed on with my traditional publisher, I published another 3 books with them, and I was talking with my agent at the time as far as what did I want to do as far as for my next book for them. And we were at a book signing. I remember this. I was in Texas, and I was at the Barnes and Noble doing a book signing, and my agent overheard me telling a reader about The Night Before Christmas. And my agent was like, wait, come, what was that? Come here. And I was telling her about it, and she was like, oh my gosh, your publisher would want this. Because I was like, yeah, it's about a couple who exchange the gift of opportunity. They exchange a marriage pass with each other, and he uses it with his sister-in-law and all this scandal. And I'm just really selling it. And she was like, oh my gosh, they would love that. So sure enough, we pitched it to them, my publisher at the time. They did love it. They signed me on for another 2-book deal. I took down The Night Before Christmas from Amazon. We fleshed it out. We made it twice the size that it was, changed the character names. We changed, of course, the title and cover. I took out the Christmas element and made it an anniversary instead, just to kind of broaden that a little bit so it wasn't so niche. And then the Marriage Pass was published in February of 2021. So it was after it was published, and I had a PR firm that was really promoting it. We were in Popsugar, we were on the Shade Room, we were in lots of blogs, podcasts, Sophisticate Hair magazine. Like, we were everywhere with the Marriage Pass. So I was very pleased with the feedback from it. And my agent, again, by that point, I'd already dabbled, remember, a little bit in some screenwriting. I was teaching myself and kind of really going in that direction. So she was the one to say, why don't you write the script for this one? And I was like, you think? Do you think so? And she was like, yeah, of course. So I wrote it, and she read it, and she was like, this is the one here. This is the one. So yeah, we pitched it out to a few producers, and yeah, and then finally the producers who picked it up, and I sold it to them, and they filmed it in Canada last year. And then yeah, it released as a Tubi original here a few weeks ago, and the feedback is bananas, and I'm just loving it because it was so much fun to write. So I'm glad to see it was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, you have a very receptive audience. I'm on the Facebook groups, and they're all talking about your film, which must be such an amazing feeling. But I would love to delve into how much say you had in the process of the film. Were you involved in the casting? Did you have to do like any rewrites, like feedback from the production company? Like, how was that?
Yeah, so when I pitched it to them, it was pretty funny. I had already made a connection with this particular producer, remember I was telling you before, networking and stuff. So having pitched something else to them, this was earlier. I actually pitched something to the same producer maybe 2 years ago, one of my other projects, and they passed on it, but they said they were going to keep me in mind because they thought I was a great writer. So in the beginning of 2023, the same producer, after a year, reached back out to me and said, hey, we have a story. We have a premise that we want you to write the script for. So they signed me on as a writer for one of their films. That's kind of how I got in bed with them, if you will. So since that door was open and they loved the script that I had done for them, then I was like, hey, I have another script that you may be interested in. And then boom, I pitched the Marriage Pass, and they were like, yes. And they jumped on it very, very fast. Like, the ink was not even dry on the contract before they were already cameras up in Canada. So as far as rewrites, I had to do it was, and this is very unheard of, but it was very, very like polishes and some things like as far as logistical stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it may be kind of difficult to film our characters talking in the car so much. Maybe one scene of them talking in a car, maybe instead they're parked and talking as opposed to driving and talking. Small things like that. But for the most part, oh yeah, no, they kept about, like I said, I did not have to do any drastic rewrites. It was just some little polishes and tweaks. And and that's when they went ahead and started filming it in Canada. So I was saying that with this producer, remember, I already had the other movie I had written for them. So they were filming My Marriage Pass in Canada at the same time they were filming the other script I wrote for them in London, same exact time. So that is super, super cool. So yeah, Marriage Pass came out a couple of weeks ago, and then the other film will be out next month. But as far as with the Say So with the Marriage Pass, that was something that I gave up, if you will, when I sold it to them, which again is another option. Just like with you're an author, right? So just like you could self-publish, right, and then you have traditional publishing. So you have different avenues you could do. So I'd already did the producing myself, right? I saw how involved it was. I was there in the trenches from beginning to end. So with this one, I wanted to pitch it to a producer as opposed to me trying to produce it, because I knew that to really make this thing pop, it needed some money behind it, and money I didn't have. So I was like, I think I'll do better with selling it. So that's what I did. I sold it to them. They gave me a good chunk of money. It's like a percentage of the budget. I get a percentage of that. Of course, I get my screenwriter credit. I get my based on the novel buy credit. And then, yeah, they took it and they had a hand in all of that. They did all of that stuff, the locations, the casting, the film, everything. So when they were up there filming in Canada, the cast, they of course found me on Instagram. We found each other and we were kind of communicating throughout the process. And I was like, how's it going? Are y'all having fun? What are you filming? Trying to stay abreast of the process. But yeah, if it hadn't been, but honestly, if it hadn't have gone so quick, because it went quick. If it hadn't have gone so quick, I would have tried to fly up there to be on set, because I really wanted to be there. And it was open for me too, but like I said, they were moving so fast. So they filmed it. And then yeah, I kind of got it all on the back end, as far as, well, here's some stills and stuff and things like that. So, which was fine with me, because I feel that they really did it justice. They really did.
Yeah, they definitely did it justice. I watched the film and I loved it, I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
I haven't watched too many movies on TUBI because it was really hard for me to get it here. I'm currently in Dublin, but like I was using like VPN. I haven't watched this movie.
Yes.
But yeah, they did an amazing job. The production, the quality, the actors, the sets, the locations, everything was top tier, and it's so amazing to see your work like in that form when you're coming from an indie background, and you're like, do you feel like you've made it now that like
Listen, do you ever really feel like you made? Because I feel like there's always something else. Like I you move the goalpost sometimes. Like at one point, when I got my first book contract with my first independent publisher, I thought I had made it, right? I was like, oh my gosh, I got a publisher. And then when I moved to my traditional publisher and I saw my book for the first time in Walmarts and Targets, like everywhere, and Barnes and Noble and Books A Million and all these bookstores, then I was like, yeah, I made it. I mean, I can go into a Walmart and see my books. And then like with the movies, I'm like, yeah, I made it, until something else comes along. Because I'm trying, listen, Camille, like all of us, you have these lofty, which is good, you have these lofty goals and ambitions. Like, I really want to work with some of these well-known producers and writers that we're familiar with. I would love to see my work in, my name on a credit in a theatrical release, or on, cable or Netflix, and have some of these A-list actresses and actors in my work. I want to win an Oscar, or at least be nominated, that kind of stuff. So I've made it for now, I guess. But ask me again tomorrow. We still have more goals to accomplish.
it's always good to have a goal that you're working towards. So yes, I agree with you. You mentioned that you had an agent, that was a writer's agent. Did the agent just approach you after they found you with your books? Like, how did you? So many writers are always about, I need to find an agent. That's going to make my career, my life. Like, what was that like for you?
I honestly, because honestly, the opportunities that I've received thus now, this was on my own. I had a literary agent for my books. She was the one that helped me shop to my traditional publisher and negotiated my multi-book contracts, because I had 3-book deal, then a 2-book deal, then another 2-book deal. So she was all, with me with my books are concerned. She acted more as a mentor when it came to my screenwriting. You know, she definitely helped me out. Like I said, plenty of kudos to her, because I wouldn't have even, stepped in this, or even been maybe bold enough or confident enough to step into this space if it wasn't for her. But that's where she was headed, kind of moving into owning her own production company and kind of assembling a team of writers and really, filtering out some opportunities. So she was the one that kind of pushed me in the direction of, why don't you try your hand at screenwriting and adapting some of your books? So without her, I don't know if I would have done it or even done it this quickly. So, but like I said, the opportunities that I've gotten with, the producers, like with the TUBI originals, and, how I was able to network and then go out to Essence Fest and be a speaker, and, different things like that. And a number of, coverage and all this stuff, and the pitching that I've done, where I've been able to meet other prominent producers with their movies on BET Plus, and, things like, Netflix and Hulu. That was all just a lot of, oh my gosh, me just getting out there, really. And yeah, hustling. And then, as I said earlier, I'm going to keep saying that N word a lot: networking, and connecting, because that's what I always say. It's like a calling card. Even if I pitch my script, let's say, to this producer, they may not like it, but they may keep me in mind, or they're in the circles. They may know somebody who would like it. And that's kind of how my name is kind of circulating, which I'm so appreciative of. And I'm allowing my work to speak for itself. So then I just signed with a screenwriting agent this past December. It was like right before Christmas. And the same thing. He got my information because of some producers that I worked with. He read some of my, and this was even before Marriage Pass. Like, this was even before he even saw that. But he saw some of my work on Lace. He saw Pseudo. He's read some of my scripts and things. Kind of, like I said, I kind of have a bunch of stuff circulating. So he got his hands on it, and he reached out to me. And it's so funny, because that's what I heard a lot in my filmmaker and screenwriting groups, is like, when you're ready, they'll come to you. They'll come to you. That's what I kept hearing, and I was like, oh no. So I just kind of put my head down and just focused on doing what I do, doing it well, and getting better and better and better. And I was just kind of like, so it was a huge surprise when he just randomly reached out to me, and I was like, are you serious? And he, name dropped as far as some of the producers that I worked with, and I was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? So yeah.
Well,
so just signed with him, and we'll see.
Clearly, you are a master at networking. I mean, do you have any tips in terms of that? Are you doing online networking? Are you going to a bunch of events? Are you just cold emailing people and then somehow building a rapport with them? Like, what is your secret to your networking success?
I'm not gonna. I don't even know if it's a secret. I guess. Like I said, I'm in a ton of filmmaker groups and screenwriting groups. So I'm already connecting with a lot of independent publishers. Production companies and producers and actresses and things like that, just at the independent level. And then I kind of took it a step further and started doing research on the production companies that I, as one day hope to work with. And you find that information, of course, through Google, IMDb Pro, looking at the credits of movies that you like. Like, I told myself that I was 100% going to work with Jordan Peele at Monkey Paw, and I was going to work with Jason Blum at Blumhouse. Like, I'm going to, like, that is going to be my thing. But I know that it's a little bit of a barrier to entry there, because you're talking about it's like when people come to you and they say, why don't you reach out to Tyler Perry? It's like, well, I can't just pick up the phone and call him. I got to work my way, kind of in that direction, and hope, my exposure just kind of continues to, grow and my work garners interest. So I've been reaching out to, like I said, I started looking at movies that I enjoy, or movies in the genres that I was writing, because I write in several genres. So I would do that. And that's how I was able to touch bases with this particular producer, because they produce for not just TUBI originals, but Lifetime and Hallmark. And I was like, okay, I found them because, again, they're one of the well-knowns. And I was like, well, maybe I could pitch them a Christmas movie that I'm working on. Like, you just kind of trying to see, and then you're looking to see what their submission process is. You're connecting with them on social media. Again, not just the company, but some of these individuals in the company. And that's where they're, sharing tips and different things that they're, kind of going going about and in their stories and stuff on LinkedIn, like really connecting and creating an organic relationship. Like, most people don't realize that when I was kind of in more of my acting bag, Raven Drummer on Instagram, she's very, very active on Instagram. That's Tyler Perry's casting director, his main casting director. So when I have somebody, for example, that comes to me and they're like, how do I be an actress? Well, of course, you kind of think of, okay, Tyler Perry being, the top, especially for the Atlanta space. And I'm like, connect with Raven Drummer. Like she does master classes and workshops and stuff. Like connect with her and get in front of her and just create that organic relationship and just continue to build on that. And then lots of patience, because I've gotten the yeses that I've gotten, trust and believe, I've gotten 5, 6, 8 times as many no's or no answers, like no responses, which is an understood no. So it's like, well, you know what? And just not getting discouraged, but it's like, it's okay. I'm just going to continue to do what I need to do. Just stay consistent and diligent, and you'll kind of break through. You'll begin to see that improvement, see that growth, and you can look back on what you've done. Like, let's say this time last year, and it's like I've already seen where I've gone a little bit further in my career, and that is keeping me motivated and keeping me encouraged that I'm doing something right. Let me keep doing what I'm doing, if not more, but let me at least still keep doing this because I'm headed in the right direction.
My God, you touched on so many important things what you just spoke right there. But first, I have to say, it's such a smart tip to encourage people to not only just reach out to or follow the production company, but the people that are, their personal Instagram. Because even in casting my film, my short films and stuff, the actors who hop into my DM and then keep themselves visible there, just touch base every now and then, or send me things that they think I might, be good for, and they're top of mind. And I find I've hired a lot of those people and rehired them for things. So that's such.
And Camille, you're 100% right. And then, like I said, the important thing as well is creating that organic relationship. I try to approach others how I desire to be approached. Like even when the marriage pass hit, I've gotten an influx of DMs and all that stuff, and that's fine. I help out, absolutely as much as I can when I can. But, I can see that it already repels me if you just jump in my DM and you're like, hey, put me in your next movie. I'm like, wait. First of all, who are you? What's your name? Hi, how are you? As opposed to really trying to, hey, I've watched your movie. This is what I like. This is what I did. This is how I can see, and really making that professional introduction of approaching the situation, and not just, hey, put me in your next movie. And so because of that, I'm like, I know how that would come across, let's say, to another producer or director or industry professional if I do the same thing. Hey, I got to move. Hey, make my movie. It's like you got, there's a business and there's a protocol and it's a way of doing things. And no one wants to feel like you're just kind of, coming at them just kind of what I can do for you. What can we do for each other? This is what I can bring to the table. This is what, how we can best support each other. So even with the production company, they did the marriage pass, they, I pitched the script, and again, the work spoke for itself, but I was like, hey, this is your audience. This is going to do it right here. I'm telling you. So of course they're looking at it like, make some money on this. You know what I mean? And kind of, you're trying to it's a balance. And again, that's just all a part of the networking thing. And I'm still learning as well. We're all kind of still learning, and not getting discouraged, because just because someone tells you no, that just may mean, okay, just not with you, or not right now. That doesn't mean no, for, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, I may have to find a window. The door's not working right now, so.
Yes, you always want to maintain the connections and not just give up and think. I mean, because you're guaranteed to fail if you just give up, right? So you gotta keep going and pushing forward. My last interview, I spoke with Clarence Williams IV, and his Christmas movie was on BET Plus. And one of the things that I asked him is he now a full-time writer? Has he quit his day job? And he was explaining to me, and most people would be surprised and shocked to hear that he still has a day job. And, while he's writing and getting his movies made and streaming on these huge networks. So I would like to ask you, are you a full-time writer now? I know you also mentioned you're a speaker. Or are you clocking in? Do you have a full-time day job?
I have a full-time day job. and it's hard to believe because like you're saying, with the opportunities that are there, you would think, but it's, but put it like this, I am putting things in place and going ahead and establishing those networks and connections. And like I said, putting those blocks into place for me to eventually transition into being a full-time writer. That of course is my goal. That of course is my hope. But I don't want to jump in too prematurely because I know how this industry can be. I'm learning how this industry can be, and it's a lot different. So I'm really just making sure that when I eventually, and I will move into that particular space, that I am as ready as I can be and things are kind of set in place. So, I'm able to fall back on certain things in the event things don't work out as I'm, what I mean, kind of putting those things into place. But yeah, I am a full-time employee, with someone. I have, in addition to, the writing, the books, the movies, I have 3 children, one of which, my oldest, who's a child actor himself. So I'm having to help his manager and agent with getting him out here into, auditions and things like that. My middle baby is my artist and my musician. So I'm dealing with him, with putting him in his trumpet lessons and his keyboard lessons and sports. And then I have a 4-year-old, which is self-explanatory. So, so yeah, we're juggling a lot.
You sure are. I mean, well, the creative gene clearly is strong in your family. I mean, you have to cast, well, it must help to have a mom who's writing a movie. You'll be able to cast the actor.
I have written a movie for him. So we may, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's the thing. I enjoy, for sure being able to come to it from both sides, from the acting standpoint and the writing standpoint. I think that's what helps make my writing, stand out a little bit, kind of have my voice and my signature, because I am able to take that front of the camera experience too and really pour that into it so my characters and things jump off the page. You know what I'm saying? At least that's what I tell myself. So it's working.
Yeah, I'd say so. And are you writing every day or because I don't know how you even get the time to sleep with all you have going on. Are you still writing every day? You mentioned you were in writing groups, and I know you told me you were in for your writing for a novel, you were in a writing group for that. You in a separate screenwriting group. Girl, you have so much going on.
Yeah, I don't know if I get too much sleep, honestly. It's this, the creative juices are always flowing. They're always going. I'm always thinking about the next project or so. I don't commit to necessarily writing every day. Some days I don't write, actually. I kind of, if I'm on a deadline, let's say I got a script, for example, I'm in the middle of writing 2 scripts right now. So if I'm on a deadline, then yes, I need to, I'm cranking it out and doing what I need to do. But some days I do take time for myself, and I may just read, for a little, leisure, or playing with the kids, or just kind of taking a little. I try to have that balance. I really do. I don't want it to be all work, no play. So some days I actually surprise myself. Some days I'm like, the computer's there and I'm looking at it and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna write. We're gonna watch this TV show, or we're gonna watch, and just have some us time. So I try to have a balance as much as possible because, I had someone very, 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 very close to me pass away a couple of years ago. It was my baby sister, and she was 28 years old. And it's ever since then, especially, I've really tried to take to heart as far as, of course, living life to the fullest, life being so short, all of that, but really being mindful of stopping to smell the roses sometimes, because you can look up and, it'll pass you by and you're like, oh my gosh. And then I watch my kids growing up and I'm like, man, my oldest will be 15 this year. He's asking me about driving and I'm like, oh, what? And he's like counting down to when he goes to college. And I'm like, I just had you, So it's little things like that. It's like, you know what? I definitely want to always be that good role model, be a good example, and have that same work ethic like I've always had. But I don't want to lose myself in that and lose what's important and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I'm really trying to work on that balance.
That is such an important message because we hustle so much to like get, this is our dream, to realize our dream, and then when you look back and you're like, I didn't appreciate the journey, and you should appreciate.
Exactly. The journey, like this is the journey is what's so rewarding. And again, of course the destination is always good, but it's like I have to stop and appreciate, what's happening now too.
What is next for you?
Well, I have some other movies coming out. Like I said, I have another one with the same producer as also a Tubi original called Played and Betrayed. That'll be out. Well, I keep saying next month. I forget we're in February. So this month, it'll be out here soon. So look for that, as well as two other movies that I'm writing for them that will begin production here in the next few months. I'm also, like I said, continuing to pitch my own work as well. And everything that I'm telling you, I'm still doing here. My work is not done. Like I'm still doing, because I still hope to get some of my own work out there. I've got some things optioned right now too. So we'll see what happens. I even have a game show that's circulating, and that was pitched to like some industry, like Sony and some industry professionals and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. That's all we can do is see what happens.
Wow. Wait, so are the two movies also thrillers or the same genre, or?
They're also
Thrillers. That's my specialty. I love a good thriller. Like, but mind you, I've written two Christmas movies. I've written some other things as well, but I love a good thriller. I love a good thriller. I love a good thriller.
With a nice twist at the end, and if you haven't seen The Marriage Pass, go watch it. It has a twist ending for sure that you won't see coming. Okay, and then is any just last words that you want to leave the aspiring writers and filmmakers, the people on the come up looking to do what you have done? Any words of encouragement, just last words that you'd like to leave our viewers with?
Well, I have since started adopting a new phrase that, now, mind you, I heard it from a friend. I don't know if it's something that she made up, or it may be something, that she picked up from elsewhere or some notable individual. I can't say exactly, so I can't say where it came from. I just know I love it. And I have since started saying it everywhere I go. Hold on, let me get my wording right. It is: imperfect progress is better than perfect procrastination, is what she said. So again, I heard it from her first. So I'm just kind of like, that is something that has stuck with me. And I'm like, well, that is me, as far as the gems and things like that. Take that with you and keep that in mind as you're going forward, because, you're moving forward, but at least you're progressing, and that's better than the procrastination, So, yeah, just do it. I mean, just do it. That's all I could say. Yeah, just go for it.
As a recovering procrastinator, I love that message. As I could procrastinate like no other.
okay. Same.
So I had to kind of get myself in that mindset as well. And it's like, you know what, these goals won't accomplish themselves. We got work to do. So
Thank you, Briana, so much for being with me today, for sharing all these nuggets, these gems with everyone. And if you would just leave us with how we can find you, if you want to connect with you, your Instagram, your YouTube, or wherever, your socials.
Absolutely. I've done really well with my SEO optimization. So if you Google Briana Cole, I'm so proud to say I will come up. I'm the first thing that comes up, as well as my books. So it's brianacole.com is my website. And that also links to all of my socials. I am everywhere, very, very active on social media, even TikTok, Briana Cole 3, Facebook and Instagram, Briana Cole Official, and Twitter, Brie Cole Official. official. And again, all of that is linked from my website, brianacole.com. But like I said, just Google me, I will come up. Or if you pop me in any of the social media search bars, I will come up. I'm there. And like I say, engage with me, network with me. I'm very, very active. I do respond. I've had some people like, oh my gosh, I thought this would be like your assistant. I'm like, no, it's me. So yeah, I'm very, very eager, and I love to, to connect with like-minded individuals. I love the support. I appreciate the support. And I just say, stay tuned because there's more in store. I cannot wait until you see what's next.
So much more to come. I'm looking forward to it, to following your journey, your ascent, because you're going nowhere but up, obviously. And again, thank you so much for being with me today and speaking with me. And I hope you guys all enjoyed this. Please remember to like and share this interview if you found it to be, helpful to you, and I'm sure you have found something in this conversation that will help you on your journey. Until the next time, bye.
Thank you.